So before we start the show, I just want to share my affirmations. This week has been tough. And sometimes when things get tough, we forget that why we're here. And I just want to remind you what you want wants you. And I had to remind myself that what I want wants me. Everything that I have today is because I've wanted it. And I think it's important to remember that everything I wanted to be an actress. I'm an actress. I wanted to have a podcast. I have a podcast today. But sometimes when you want things and you don't get them the time that you want them, you forget that you're seeking. Don't forget the fire that you have. So today I had to remind myself that I'm that girl from Bloemfontein, man, who had nothing. And today I have everything because I've always known that what I want wants me. Be part of the exclusive Cappy collab by following or tagging Cappy Africa on Instagram and Facebook and share your affirmations. And welcome to Mommy Diaries. You know, the show is about parenting, motherhood, and this amazing journey of raising our kids. On today's show, hey, I don't want to laugh. I almost said I have Pasi. On today's show, I have Londeka Sishi. She's a mom, an actress, and a sister, a daughter. What else? Buningi. Yes. And a friend. How are you, Londeka?
I'm good, Mama. How are you?
I love how you look so comfortable.
I'm so comfortable.
Yeah.
I'm just nervous. Good things will keep us on But like, I'm like so, because I feel at home.
I feel like, clothes. But how are you on the real? Like, how are you doing?
Jeez. I'm good.
Mm-hmm.
I'm good. I'm very sensitive right now. And I think it's because of that very question. Like I've been doing a lot of reflecting. I think there's this thing that we do with that question where when a person asks you, how are you doing? It's you just want to brush it off because you don't want to take a moment to actually just be like, how am I doing?
Yeah.
So I'm very sensitive and I'm fighting a lot of feelings.
Okay.
But I'm in a good place.
Yeah.
I'm in a good
but it's
place.
also very tricky because if I ask you how you're doing and then you say you're not good, what am I going to say or do?
Yeah.
Because as much as I want the honest truth, but sometimes you wonder if someone says, hey, akukho right.
Yeah.
Then kutlo kuzolunga.
Yeah, but also sometimes maybe people just need you to listen.
True.
I think that's another thing. Sometimes, and I've realized with me that a lot of the stuff that I know, I hear it different when I say it out loud. Do you know what I mean? Like when I've said it, then I hear it all over again and it kind of smacks me differently.
Yeah.
So sometimes when you get an opportunity to I'm letting it out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
How are you doing?
I'm fine. I'm fine.
Yeah.
I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm also learning to accept things I cannot change. You know, we say this all the time, but it's so difficult to accept the things that you cannot change. We say it because we hear it.
And it sounds nice.
No, just accept the things you cannot. It's not easy to accept the things that you cannot change because you try to control everything. But I'm learning to, because I have anxiety issues. Yeah. So me trying to force things, it's our anxiety. So now I'm learning to be like, okay, if this is happening, it's happening, and I have to accept it and change what I can change. If I cannot change it, then
that's such a good place.
Yeah, but I'm good.
It's a good place to be.
Yeah.
I recently, yesterday in conversation actually, I said that the Lord has been giving me a lot of timeouts.
Okay.
You know, like how when Nema has been misbehaving, you're like, baby, time out, you're grounded, no electronics, no whatever. And I'm like, lately, I just feel like God has been giving me so many timeouts. And it is the most frustrating place to be at. Like what you're saying, learning to accept what you can't change. When you're in the timeout looks different for all of us. Like maybe your timeout might be a relationship that you wanted and God says no. It's not happening no matter how you negotiate. Or your timeout might be maybe a job that you wanted or whatever it is. And I just feel like understanding that God himself is parenting us, and sometimes when he deprives us of these things that we want, he's giving us time out. So shifting my perspective from going, God just presses skip when it comes to me, to going, actually he's giving me a timeout, and I just need to surrender and accept that I'm in a place now when I'm being disciplined, where I'm being convicted, where I'm being corrected, and
Yeah, and so that when you can take accountability, because sometimes accountability is very, very, very difficult. Or when you know what, this is where I went wrong, and this is my time to take. I don't want to say take my punishment, but to take the time out, like you're saying, because it's hey,
Yeah.
And then Londeka, who's Londeka? Where's Londeka from?
Ooh.
Take me through your childhood.
This is one of the hardest questions to answer. I don't know.
Why?
I don't know. Like, it's just always such an awkward. It's like going on a date and tell me about yourself.
Oh yeah, I hate those. Like, that's why I don't go on dates. Like, tell me about yourself.
Bore me again.
Google me, bore me again.
Okay. So Londeka. Oh, I'm the middle child.
Okay.
To a lot of siblings. But I'm dead smack in the middle. I was born in a place called Emeshlomnyama, which is like a rural settlement in the south coast, past Potchefstroom. I grew up, early childhood was with my great-grandmother, the love of my life. And then I moved to go stay with my mother in Potchefstroom. So it was a really big jump from the rurals to now going to like a mini suburb where people bath every day. And I'm like,
we've had this conversation. Stop. People must bath every day.
I'm like, what is this thing, guys?
How many times did you bath, Luna?
I mean, I used to bath. No, I used to bath. I just would sometimes. This is terrible. Please cut that out. Joking.
And then
I'm kidding. I really am.
Yeah.
So then I moved over to stay with my mother, and yeah, man, it was just very different. Moving from my great-grandmother, who I had so much of freedom to be myself, to express myself, to laugh, jump, play, visit, do all these things, to going to my mother, who was so much stricter. And I was being introduced to all of these new rules. I can't leave the house. People can't come over. That was my early, I guess, my childhood. Fast forward, I then got to meet my dad at high school, like probably like grade 10, grade 9, 10. I got to meet my dad, which was also like another really big shock to the system because, first of all, I didn't have the concept of like
mom, dad,
whatever. It was always just, go. And then mom. And then now dad. It was really weird. Who then shortly passed right after I met him, maybe like 2 years afterwards. Man. Yeah.
And how was that, meeting him? Were you meeting for the first time?
For the first time, yes. It's really funny how that happened as well. I think, so I've been a Christian basically my whole life. I mean, obviously I've done my things, but I've been a Christian pretty much my whole life. And I was really frustrated by the idea of seeing everybody around me being parented, seeing everyone around me having like something to fall back on. When something happens, you can go, I'm going to tell my dad. Or being at home and watching people being loved by a dad or being, you know what I mean? And I remember speaking to God. I remember going, look, this is nice and I appreciate everything that I have and I'm grateful. I'm not trying to sound like, but sometimes I want a physical representation of what your love feels like. I wanna be able to go, I'm gonna tell my dad, or I wanna be able to go, hey, Shaya type of thing. And but I said it in passing, yabo. And then how I got to meet him, I got sick. Like sick. I think everybody thought I was dying. Everybody was convinced that, okay, no, this is how she's going out. And then my mom says to me, we're going to go Gakoko. I'm going to take you to your grand's house so you can get Patwa and all of those things. And I was like, hey, I don't care what I'm going to do at my grand's house. I'm just going to go because she was like my safe space. I was just excited to go see her. And then we drove. I don't think I've ever told the story before, actually. And then we drove. We took a really long ride. a lot happened on the way. And then we get to this place in Durban. I'd never been to Durban before, driving from Chepstow. We get there, we enter this car, and here I'm thinking, I'm too sick for this. I don't know who this man is. I'm not trying to be no accomplice to know nothing. I get in, I sit at the back, and literally mom goes, this is your dad.
Yo.
I'm like, sorry, what? And then he looks at me in the rearview mirror. He's like, have you eaten? I'm like, what is going on?
Oh my God.
What is happening? I'm taking a lot of deep breaths because I'm trying to not get, yeah. And then that's how I met him. And then he took me to go buy clothes, a lot of boys' clothes. And they bought me a burger. And then I was healed. I was instantly better. Yeah, it was, yeah. Yeah, that's how I met him.
Yeah. And, like you're saying, we speak a lot about the physical representation of a dad, and most of us, we grew up without them, but when you see other people being fathered, sometimes, like you're saying, how would you without a dad? You don't know it. You know your mom or you know your grandmother. But once you start understanding what God was trying to do when he created this whole thing of marriage, mom and dad, parenting, you get to realize that this is not normal. Linda, I want the physical representation of a dad. Linda, I want a hug from a man.
Yeah.
Linda, I want to tell people to, like you're saying, to threaten my friends and say,
I'm going to tell my dad.
Yeah. And have you healed from that, Londeka, now, have you healed from, when I say healed, as in not over it, but have you healed?
Oh my God.
Because people are calling us, we have daddy issues.
Daddy issues.
Yeah.
I don't have daddy issues because I have a dad.
Yeah.
So this is where I think my life completely flipped. I think when he died, oh my God. So when he passed, I think that's when I kind of went through it. I'm like, God, you're so mean. There we go. Yeah. I'm like, God, you're so mean. So you've kept this thing away from me for so long, and then you introduce me to it, and just as we're getting into it, you take it away. You could have just kept it if, and then I've never felt comfort the way that I felt it in that moment, because God was like, but Londeka, I've been here. Every time you needed to run to a dad, every time you had a bad day, every time somebody hurt you, every time you felt like you didn't have, I've been here. I've showed up at parent-teacher meetings. I've been here. You've had clothes. I've been here. The only reason I did that was because you had been wanting it so bad. But I've been your father. There's nothing stopping you from walking in after a tough day and going, Dad. That was not nice. Somebody really hurt my heart today. Somebody upset me today. Dad, I don't have this. Dad, he's like, but I've always been that for you. And so when I then shifted my relationship or my understanding of what a father is, today I was saying to Anele earlier that I feel like a spoiled brat. I feel like I'm my dad's favorite. I feel like I'm twalalaling. I have no idea what's happening. I just know things are going to be done because I'm going to talk to my father, and somehow it's going to come. It's going to be, Yeah. So I have a dad, and he is the most incredible.
He is.
He's the most incredible father you could ever have. One who has so much of grace and so much of room for me to sulk, make mistakes, throw tantrums, not come home, not listen, but he still loves me in the most incredible way I can describe. So I've healed from that, and I've healed from it through having conversations with him and going, I want somebody to fight my battles. I want to not, because for a long time before that, before even meeting my physical dad, I was a fighter. I was somebody who was if somebody does something to me, I feel like I need to sort it out myself. I don't have the luxury of going, I'm going to go call back up. I'm going to go talk to whatever. So I've had to fight those battles and be
you become hard.
You become so
I
hard.
know. Yeah, you become hard. Yeah.
So I'd become that person where I'm like, okay, because you can go tell your dad, and also your dad must come. One of you guys must come.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, after that, I just became so soft, and I became like, I'm like an egg in his hand. So yeah.
And when you become soft instantly. Like, and then you look back, because then when I was in varsity, I was always angry.
Yeah.
I remember my lecturer saying to me, why? Because every time they would give us like exercises, like write a monologue, and then come do your monologue for exams. My monologues were just like 10 things I hate about you. I hate this, because I was just so angry because my dad didn't love me. And I was like, why doesn't he love me? All I want is to be loved.
And I think what hurts about that is that you start to see it in all your other relationships, because you're like, I just want you to choose me.
Yeah.
Like, why aren't you choosing me?
Yeah.
What is it about me?
Yes.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that's something that I held as well against him. And men in general. I'm just like, y'all are weird. Like, y'all are so weird.
Yeah.
What is it about me that you know?
Yeah.
You chose everybody else, but me.
But me. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And then your dreams. What did you want to be when you were little?
Ooh.
I picture you, little Londeka. What did you want to be? Have you always wanted to be an actress?
I've always wanted to be in storytelling. I've always wanted to be in entertainment. I've wanted to be an actress. I thought I was going to be a presenter. I thought I was going to be
Youre TV.
Youre TV. Yeah.
I know.
I thought I was going to be on Youre TV. I was going to be on SABC too.
Yeah.
I've always had that in my heart and in my mind. And then at some point I thought I was going to be like a superhero.
Okay.
I'm going to save the world. I'm going to get bitten by, like, I did have those ideas. I was like, if it can happen, I would love to be some kind of superhero. You know what I mean? Like, who does like secret good deeds, and people don't, like, you just wake up and you've got food in your fridge and it's like, you know? Yeah.
And how did you get into acting? Did you study acting?
I didn't.
You didn't?
I'm
Okay.
not a qualified actress.
Okay.
Acting, I think, like I said, I've always had a heart for it. It was an escape for me growing up. I used to do it a lot in my space. Okay. So I would put pillows and I would talk to them, and I'd like be a teacher, or I'd be a doctor, or I'd be this, and I'd play out different scenarios. It was an escape from all the things that I was going through and everything that was happening in my world. So I would escape into this world, and it was nice. But lives and things happened, and I became a young mom, and it just felt like it was not stable. It was not a stable place to go to.
Sure.
And I needed something that I thought I'm going to be able to sustain my child, myself, and not be a burden on anybody. And so I went into the corporate world. But even there, I was still doing storytelling through marketing, branding, and all of those kinds of things. Until, like, I got to a place where I'm like, oh gosh, but I'm doing it,
but you're not happy,
but I'm not happy.
Yeah.
I'm hitting a wall. I'm ticking all the boxes. I'm doing the right stuff, but I'm not happy. And then I saw an open call that I saw on Instagram, and I was like, I'm actually going to send a self-tape, you know? And I think it was one of my friends who actually kind of went, yeah, just record it, do it. And then that's how I did it. I recorded a self-tape, I submitted. And the funny story about that is, then for 2 weeks, like, I wasn't on my personal email because I was busy with my work stuff. So I just kind of was like, whatever. 2 weeks later, when I go in, I saw that they'd responded to my self-tape and they'd asked me to come in. And I'm like,
oh my God, yes.
I've missed it. I've messed it up. Oh my God. I was like weeping, and I tried to text Genilwe. I tried to email her back. I tried to call her. I'm like, Genilwe, listen, I'm so sorry. And she's like, can you get to Joburg in like 2 days? And I'm like, okay, yeah. And then I had to scramble, try to get money, petrol, And I haven't told my boss at work. Oh my gosh. So then I scrambled. I was like, I've got a family thing that I have to go do. Oh my God. I told you this was going to happen.
Yeah.
And then I left. I came. I did the audition. Then I had to do the screen test. And then right after, I had to drive back to Durban because I had to be in the office the next day.
Sure.
So I drove I think I left Joburg at like 6. Got to Durban early hours of the next day, and then woke up, went to work.
Went to work, yeah.
Yeah, and then 2-3 days later, I get a call from Genilwe saying, you got the job. I'm like, lost my mind, went to my boss, was like, hey, so I have to quit effective immediately because
because you have to talk to Joburg
because I have to go to
live your
Joburg.
dream.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's been incredible ever since.
Yeah.
This is like a summary. It's way more detailed, but yeah, that's basically
and
it.
being a mom.
Yeah.
How's that?
Ooh.
And the day you found out that you're pregnant, take me through it from the beginning, the journey until today. It's a long one, I know. Just summarize it. Like, here you are, like you're saying, you're pregnant. Now you have to make a plan.
Yeah.
That's the thing about being a mom.
Yeah.
You always have to make a plan.
Make a plan.
From the beginning.
From the time
You know.
Yo guys, being young, you know? So Liana, that's my daughter's name. Her name is Liana. I wanted her. So I was going through a lot of things at the time, and I was just I think I was at my wit's end. I'm like, Lord, I have no idea why I'm here. I should not be here. I've got no purpose. I don't want to do this anymore. I really have no reason to wake up. This is just, you know, and I was like, I've got so much of love that is trapped in me that my great-grandmother, it's almost as if she took all of it and she just dumped it on me. And I'm like, I've got so much of love. And every time I give it out, it hurts. Like it doesn't come back in the way that you know. And I'm like, I would like a child. You know, I want a baby. I think that's the only thing that makes sense right now. So I spoke to my partner at the time. I said, hey, can we try for a baby? He was like, are you sure? Like, and I was like, yeah, I want a baby. And we do the whole thing.
What's the whole thing? We do the whole thing.
We prayed.
You prayed for the baby?
We did. Yeah. And a stork came and dropped. And so I remember we had been taking a couple of tests before that. And they were all just coming back negative. And then that morning that I took the test, I told him before he left for work, I'm like, so I'm going to do it. I'm going to do the test. He's like, and I think he was just also like, okay, cool, good luck. Let me know how it goes. I had to leave. And I was going to follow him later because we worked in the same space. So he left. I took the test. And then I was excited initially when I got them, like, yay! I called him like, oh my God, we're pregnant. He's like, no. I'm like, yes, we are. We're all excited. And then dropped the call. I put the test down. And then it smacked me. You're having a whole baby.
Yeah.
And I'm like, then I think it hit me. Then the realization of like the permanence of what just happened smacked me. It's like, now you're about to be responsible for an entire life. You can't do the thing that you do where it's like, okay, I've had enough now. You can take it away. Now it's a full life thing. And then I remember just sitting on the bed and weeping and going, oh my God, I think I made a mistake. I didn't mean it. Yeah, I didn't mean it. I think no. Then the panic kicked in. Then obviously I had to get ready, go to work. Got ready, got to work, saw him. And when I saw him, I just cried. I'm like, oh my God, we're about to have a child. Yeah. What does this mean? And he still is a very incredible person, very supportive throughout it, made it so much easier. And then we obviously had the discussions of how we're going to tell everybody. We were just like, let's wait it out. And we waited, and you couldn't tell until I was like 4 or 5 months. And then eventually I had to tell my mom because, yeah.
And how was pregnancy? Did you have a breeze?
Oh, the most amazing.
Yeah.
Honestly, the most amazing pregnancy. Yeah. I was twalaling the entire time. It was beautiful. I had such great support from my partner at the time, from family, from friends. I had like such a beautiful community around me. Every time, fat people saw me, the first thing they do is lay hands on my tummy and pray. Declare good things, speak well over her. And I was such a princess again. It was beautiful. Right up until the end, where we had to, unfortunately, we ended up having to have an emergency C-section because I think she was just also too excited to get here.
Yeah. And then the decision to take the job, like you're saying, you had to leave your job and then take the job to come to Johannesburg, because obviously at the time you were staying in Durban full time with your child. How was that? Like now having to look and deciding that, you know what?
I'm leaving.
I have to leave. And you're not leaving for Monati. You're going to work and live your dreams. And now you see, it's like what happened. Now you were raised by,
distant parent.
Distant parent. Yeah.
That day where I had to leave is probably the most heartbreaking thing I've ever experienced in my entire life. And I've experienced a lot of, pain. But that day, and I'd been prepping Lily like the week to me leaving. And I told her that, baby, look, you and I are going to have our own house. Yeah. We're going to have you're going to have your own bedroom. Yeah. You're going to have Mom is going to work so hard. You're going to have everything that you want, but I have to go in order for that to happen. And I've been prepping her and telling her all these things. She's going to have unlimited ice cream. And so the week, it was almost as if we were both trying to, be excited about this change that was coming. And then the day came. So on the day that I was going to drive out to Joburg, I spent we went on our dates, right? We did our thing. And then I had to go drop her off at her dad's house and leave. Whew. So I get there and so I tell her, I'm like, okay, so mommy's going to leave you now and mommy's going to go work, okay? And then she's like, it's okay, mom. And she's literally going, it's okay, mommy. And tears are streaming down her face. She's like, I understand. You can go. It's fine. I'm going to wait. I'm not sad. I'm really happy for you. I'll wait. I'll call you every day. And she's saying all of this and tears are just going. She's like, I'm not sad. Don't worry about me. I'm not sad. I understand. I'm really happy. And I'm like, but why are you crying? She's like, because I'm going to miss you. I'm going to miss you a lot, but I'm not sad. I'm not sad. And, it's almost as if she was trying to help me be okay with the decision that we're making, that we both know is really hard. So I remember we sat in the car for a good 30 minutes, just going, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay. This is for both of us. This is good for us. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be worth it. You're going to have your own room. You've never had your own room. You're going to have your own room. It's going to be great. And then I remember her dad came, and then when they took her, then she just broke. And then she just started screaming from the top of her voice, going, Mommy, don't go. No. And then I remember just sitting in the car thinking, oh my God, I'm leaving her, I'm abandoning her. I'm going to be so far. If anything happens, I'm not going to be able to kiss it better. I'm not going to be able to Yeah. And so then I got into the car and I had to psych myself up and go, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay. Thank you. And then my sister at the time stayed in escort. So I get into the car and then I drive and then I call her. I'm like, Rosie, I don't think I can do it. I don't want to do it anymore. I want to go back. I can't do it. I can't leave her. She's crying. And then I kept calling. Rosie's like, no, she's going to be fine. And then I kept calling her dad. I'm like, is she fine? He's like, oh no, she's playing now. She's playing. Yeah. And I'm like, okay. I couldn't. I drove and I stopped at my sister's place because I couldn't. Imagine driving from Durban all the way to Escort, and that's a 2-hour drive. The whole way I am weeping. I'm like, this is going to be a generational curse. I'm starting something, I'm continuing this thing where my child has to grow up with her mom that's far from, and I know how painful that is, and I know how hard that is. And I couldn't. I stopped at my sister's place and I slept. And then she had to kind of talk to me, Onolazi, who is one of my favorite people in the whole entire world. Yeah. So then I had to speak to her, and then, and then I was able to build up strength again and remind myself, why am I doing this? Why am I going where I'm going? Who is it for? That was the most heartbreaking thing I've ever experienced in my life.
I can imagine. Yeah. And for mothers out there who are watching, who are going through the same thing for whatever reason, because the reasons are very different. I don't think there's a mother out there who just leave their child because they want to, well, maybe they are, but I'm just saying that we've seen it a lot where a mother has to decide that I have to go work and I have to leave my child with my mom. You mean that when now you're blessed because you have a mom.
Yeah.
Some women don't even have mothers to leave their child with. They leave them with Abu. I know auntie Mary, you know what I mean? Abu auntie bomang. And then you realize sometimes in life that it's just that you have no choice but to leave your child in Rustenburg to go work in a different province. What kept you going? What message would you give to a mother who's going through what you're going through right now, or who's about to go through what you're going through right now?
Honestly, if I could, I'd just give them a hug.
Yeah.
Because I don't think there's anything you can say to a person who's about to make, that thing is hard.
Yeah.
Like that thing it is hard. I don't think there's anything that I can say that will make it better or that will make it easier to do it.
Mm-hmm.
If I could, I'd just give them a hug and say, sorry.
Yeah.
But it's going to be okay. You know? Sometimes we just have to do what we have to do, even if it doesn't feel great. And just, I think, remembering your why and not losing sight of your why and clinging on to your why, because there's going to be so many moments. I can't tell you the number of times where I just wanted to pack everything up, get into my car and drive back home. You know, there's going to be so many times she's going to call you or he's going to call you saying they hurt themselves or they fell or someone was being mean to them, and you're going to feel like, hey, you want to leave and go back. But I think just remembering your why is it's going to keep you going, and praying and letting God know how much that thing hurts you and how much you want to be reconciled with your child. That experience allowed me to have so much more compassion and empathy towards my own mother, because our relationship was, for a very long time, the early parts of it was really just like we're constantly, butting heads, because I just felt like there's so many things that I went through that I didn't have to go through because you weren't there. There's so many moments where I needed my mom to show up and just say, not with my child. There's so many moments where really hurtful stuff happened. And I'm just like, was it really that worth it? You going, that far? But I think this experience has allowed me to have so much more compassion and understanding of going, as a parent, sometimes you need to do what you have to do for your kid.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's not nice. It doesn't feel nice.
So now do you realize, maybe there were points where you were being too hard on your mom?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Like, I owe that woman so many apologies for, also just for like the resentment that I held, that she might have not been aware of, but the resentment that I held in my heart where she was concerned. I'm just like, this woman, she's busy preaching, but, she's hurt me in this way and this way and that way and that way. I owe her so many apologies because of the strength that I now at my big age observe, and because of how resilient she's been, and also just the love that she carries.
Yeah.
I think sometimes we box love to our understanding, our very limited capacity of what love is.
Yes,
and if it doesn't come in the package that we expect it to, we then we discard it. It's not love. But having to watch her and see that, like, love comes in so many different shapes and forms and in variations. Sometimes love is hard and sometimes it's soft. I owe her so many apologies.
Yeah. And what do you do? Like, since obviously you're far from one, like what are some of the things that you do besides communication just to keep that relationship going?
I go home all the time.
Yeah.
Every break that I get or every chance that I get, even if it's a day, 2 days, I go home as often as I possibly can. Outside of that, we talk every day, video call. We give each other gifts. Like, when I'm home, she'll make a bracelet and then she'll give it to me to take with me. We video call. It's those kinds of things. When I'm home, I'll leave something of mine with her. That when it gets really bad, that becomes your.
And work, are you happy?
Am I happy?
With your career? But it has to be worth it.
Yeah.
Hey. Recently I was asleep. Go with her bedroom. Her ice cream, unlimited ice cream. But Elena, her understand over the industry that we're in. It is so tough.
Oh, guys.
It's so abnormally.
Oh man. I think I'm more grateful.
Grateful, yeah.
I think I'm more grateful for the way that it's happened. Like I was saying earlier, I think when it comes to the way I'm being parented by God, like I am twalalaling. I live in my own world where I don't know how things are going to happen, but I just know that things have to happen. God has been so generous and he's been so gracious in providing work, good work, and opening the right doors and those sort of things. So I'm definitely grateful for my work. I'm grateful to be able to do what I do because a lot of people want to do it and are able to do it, but don't necessarily have the opportunity to do it. So I'm grateful. I'm grateful that I'm able to honor a lot of the promises that I'm making to Lily. A lot of it makes sense. Yeah, a lot of it makes sense.
Would you bring her here when you are ready? Is that your dream, or you'd rather?
I think I'd rather go back, if I'm being honest. We've been, she was meant to come up this year.
Yeah.
We found a school for her and everything and you know, got the place ready, got her bedroom ready. Still in the process of. And then I had a conversation with my mom because my mom had to attend a parent-teacher thing for me while I was this side. And she's like, don't do it. I think that would be a terrible idea. She's built such a community this side. She's got her friends. She's got a really good relationship with her teachers, with her, you know, principal. Like she's growing so well here. And to move her now would disrupt so much. So I can't take the distance anymore. I would really love if I had an opportunity that side. But yeah,
God will make a plan for that. And you speak a lot about God, which is obviously, he's our father, like you said. He's the reason why we're here. Why is it so important to always cover our children with prayer? I'm asking a dumb question. No? It's like a duh.
Not even. It's so important because number one, the reality is we're limited as parents. There's only so much we can do. We're confined to this flesh. There are so many moments where you won't able to physically be there for Nima. Like if you got a call now that said, you know, she needs you for something. You can't teleport. It's impossible for you to snap your finger and be there. So many things can happen even on the way. Traffic, there's a lot, right? There's so many things that you physically cannot do for her that you know, I read something the other day that said, if I could breathe for you, I would. And that's how I feel for Lily. And I, you know, always tell her. But there are certain things that I'm unable to do. And there are certain things that only God can do. There are battles that she fights in her sleep that I'm unaware of, you know. So it's so important to cover them in prayer because not only are you raising your daughter, but you're raising somebody who's going to be a part of society one day. She's going to be an adult, somebody's wife, somebody's friend, somebody's whatever. And like I said, there are moments where you'd love to show up for her, but you can't. And the only being that can show up in those moments is God himself. There are battles that you wish you could fight for her and overcome, but you can't. So it's so important to cover them in prayer and get them accustomed to a life of prayer, so that they can also cover themselves, you know.
Who taught you about God? When was the first time you knew there's a father called, there's a God?
It's my great-grandmother. She beat God into me. Literally, she shoved him down. I didn't have a choice. Like, and the God that she taught me, so God has changed so many times in the way, or rather my perception of him has changed so many times. When I was young, one of the first things my grand taught me was the Lord's Prayer. So before I could even, like, I knew Baba Wetu Sezulu, and I knew that. I knew my grandmother was always talking to this invisible being. Like, she'd always have these conversations where she's talking to herself. And I'm just like, You know what I mean? Like,
Yes.
and then, so she, and she didn't just teach it to me, she modeled faith.
Yeah.
She modeled what it's like to be a child of God and what it's like to be in love with this God. And the person that she is, I still to this day, I'm like, Lord, if I can be just a fraction of that woman. Like, you felt love being in her presence. Like, you walked in and you didn't want to leave. Like, you just, like, she didn't have to say that I love you. You felt it. You didn't, there was something about being in her space. And I could only attribute that to her altar and to her prayers and to this being that she submits to, who fills her up so much that it just kind of erupts out of her, you know? So that's the first time I encountered God.
Yeah.
And I was like, I like this
God.
Yeah. This is nice. It's nice, yeah.
Yeah. And how's co-parenting? A lot of women are struggling with this thing called they don't know what co-parenting is. It feels like it's a new thing, even though, you know, it's been there where people have separated or divorced and then they raise their children. 1 week your child is with their dad, and the next week the child is with you. It looks like it's becoming...
I'm going to be very vulnerable and very honest and say, I do not recommend.
Right.
If you can keep away from that, if you can try and not find yourself there, please do.
And we're not saying bekezela, but like...
No, I'm absolutely not saying...
Like, it's not normal.
It is one of the toughest things to wrap your head around as an adult. So imagine it for the child that you are co-parenting, but co-parenting is tough. It's tough. Lily's dad is amazing. He's a present dad, and they have a really good and healthy relationship. He adores her. She adores him. That's great. But now the tricky thing is balancing families. Because now Lily has to be intertwined with his family and blend into their traditions, their norms, their customs, their things, right? Yeah. And it's almost as if this child is trying to be fit into this thing that's already here, that this unit that exists. It's got a mom, it's got a dad, it's got kids, it works, and she has to slot herself into that. And then come to my side, you know, when I have a stable thing, she has to figure, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's uncomfortable. There's a lot of disagreements in the way that things should happen. It's tough, man. Like, there's no other way to say it. It's just a tough place to be. But we try and make it work. I think Lisa and I have a pretty healthy, decent relationship. But even still, it's tough.
Yeah, because sometimes you do become matured about it, that, you know what, we're going to put our differences aside and make sure that we raise the child back. Like you're saying, it's not easy. When on your side, maybe your routine is now, and then the other side, the routine is different. You might be this side, you're a Christian, the other side, they're not. Yeah. So it's quite confusing for one. I understand what you mean when you say, maybe we must try by all means to stay in relationships.
Hey, man, look, we must. I think this is going to sound, I hope it's received in the way that I'm trying to communicate it. Wutsi, love will never be an easy thing.
No,
it will never be. Like, sometimes you struggle to love even your own child.
Yeah.
Like, there are moments where they irritate you and you're just like, oh my goodness, like your parents. Like, love in itself, God, who's like infinite, is, you know, you struggle to love him sometimes. Or maybe me. Love was never meant to be easy, but just trying to find ways around. And I think also now we're taught to just like, whatever. Like, no, he chew too loudly. Like the ick. The ick.
Yeah.
We don't have as much grace for human error as we used to, or that there used to be.
And patience.
And patience. And we come up with so many terms for it, and we justify it in so many ways to basically allow us to we don't have to sit here. We don't have to be accountable to each other. We don't have to work it out. I don't like the fact that you are pointing out everything that's wrong with me and I am pointing out everything that's wrong with you. I'm just saying that if there's a way to work around it, especially if you've involved kids, try. But I mean, obviously, if you need to save yourself, save yourself. Like if it's
dangerous, save yourself.
Save yourself, you know.
Do you want to get married?
Absolutely.
When?
Yeah. Oh, shit. I'm gonna be someone's wife, and I'm gonna be tralaling in my home.
In your home.
Absolutely.
Really?
I do.
Yeah.
I still believe so much in the institution of marriage and love and family and community. And I really think that the reason why there's so many just like we don't care anymore is because the family unit has been dismantled so much and therefore there's not much community. And then like, who are you accountable to? You know, if I've got a partner and a husband, I'm accountable to him because it's like, there are certain things that I would have done probably by myself, but now I'm accountable to someone. It's like, hey, but you doing that hurts this, you know? So yeah, I think I definitely want to get married.
What does love mean to you?
Oh, I recently discovered, right, that love is an awareness. Love for me just means awareness, being aware. Okay. And by that, I mean, you know, there's one of my philosophies is by Dandapani. He says where awareness goes, energy flows. Okay. So whatever you pay mind to, everything kind of just gravitates towards that, right? Love is just being aware of someone, being so present in that person or in that experience that you're aware of them. You're aware of what they like, what they don't like. You're aware of like their frowns, their smiles, the fake smile. No, you're smiling, but you're not really smiling. So awareness of their energy, awareness of what truly makes them happy, what hurts them, and allowing yourself to be vulnerable enough to be hurt by the things that hurt the person that you love. If that makes sense. Yeah, love for me is just being aware, being present.
Being present.
Yeah.
You love love, ne?
I can talk about love
the whole day. Because I said, what does love mean to you? Oh, yeah.
Now we are in my bed.
I wonder what love means to me.
What does it mean to you?
It means Zulu. I'm getting married in KwaZulu-Natal.
You know what? You're right. Absolutely.
I have a feeling ngizophela lapho Bom, 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 bom. Yeah, I think so. I think that's the way I'm gonna love is
Zulu.
Is Zulu.
I hear you.
That's my explanation. But I love love as well. I think I think also it's also a choice.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, and also a choice because like when the butterflies are done, when everything is done, the talking stages, you getting to know each other, and then you have to decide every day that I'm gonna love this person regardless every day.
Sure.
So it is sometimes we don't realize, well, love is a choice. I choose you every day. Because in marriage, like you said, they're gonna bore us. We're gonna bore them. Yeah. We're gonna fight. You're not gonna like them, but you still choose them. And, you know, and that's a difficult part, that choosing the same person every day for the rest of your life.
And I mean, if we were to learn from the way that, again, God loves us, I think we'd have such a more graceful approach to it. One of the hardest things to hear is you're not perfect. In fact, you suck.
Yeah.
Like
we all do.
Yeah.
We suck.
Being faced with that truth, you're not as great as you think you are. Like you are actually so much more flawed than you give yourself credit for. Like you have so much to work on. The thing that you think you're so great at, you're actually pretty mid. Like, you know what I mean? Like being faced with that truth and realizing today at church, actually, funny enough, they were talking about how God is so aware of our imperfections and our flaws, but he still chose to covenant himself with us. He still chose to bind himself with us, which is what you're talking about. He's like, I know there are going to be days where you don't even choose me, where you're going to do something on purpose, knowing that it's going to hurt me. You're going to do spiteful stuff. You're going to choose other things that make you feel better. You know what I mean? And you're going to justify why you choose them. You're going to say, no, I'm choosing that because. But he still chose to love us even knowing that,
Yeah.
you know? And I think if we were to model that in our relationships with people, then we'd know that like, it literally is a choice. You're choosing to say, oh my gosh, you're so annoying. Yeah, I don't like that thing that you do when you wake up and you start scratching everywhere. But, you know, I'm still choosing you type of thing. Yeah. So I think it's also greatly intertwined with God.
Yeah.
I think in order for us to understand love, we kind of have to have some sort of effort. Yeah.
And it's the same love with friendships. How's that? Because I think we always talk about love with romantic love, but I think friendships are important, especially like how we grew up. The community would raise our children, you know, and you would see it like your mom would have a best friend from church, and and you can see there's so much love. And nowadays, even with that, like we find, fuck. I'll find another friend. Yeah. And friendship breakups are more painful than
they are terrible.
They're terrible. Why is it that most of the time these days, our friendships are not lasting, Mar? Or your opinion?
In my opinion, I think it's just, and I'm learning this as I grow. Yeah. It's having hard conversations. Having hard conversations is hard, you know, for different reasons for different people. I always say that I've got a very sacrificial type of love. The love that I offer, I will sacrifice myself over and over and over and over again for you because I love you that much. No regrets about it. It's not I just love you enough, yabo. But that love, not confronted, not contained, and not reciprocated, can be very toxic because you sacrifice so much and the person doesn't see it. And then you start building somewhat a resentment because you feel like all you do is take.
Yeah.
And we're not having the hard conversation of going, but friend, like there's this thing that you do and like it really hurts. And you don't want to have that conversation because you love the person too much to hurt them with that conversation. You've already concluded that if I tell Pasi, I get annoyed. If I tell her.
Yeah.
So you keep it to yourself and she says, enough times.
You roll your eyes.
And I roll my eyes until I get to a point where I'm just like, actually,
I don't want to be part of this.
And then you start finding other useless things that are really not that serious around her to validate you walking away. Whereas we just don't want to grow up and have adult conversation and mature conversations and say, there's something that you did that hurt me, and there's something that I heard that I didn't like. There's this, there's that, and confronting it. I think that's why they're so short-lived. We're just not having the conversation.
I think like you said. Yeah. Like if they leave, they leave. If they stay, they stay. And I think it's a problem.
It's a very big problem.
Yeah.
Very big problem.
What are some of the important things that you've learned in life that you want Lily to know? Like few things that you're like, you know what, I've learned besides prayer, because obviously prayer is number one and God is number one. Besides those two things, what are some of the things that you've learned or that have kept you going and that you would want, no matter what, Lily must know from you?
There's so many things. But one of the main things I would like to say to her is that respect is your best friend and worst enemy, right? You don't have a choice. When it comes to respect, it's not optional. And you don't respect people because they are people and you just have to respect them. You don't respect them because it's not earned. The person doesn't have to do anything in order to earn your respect. Whether they carry themselves in a way that you deem less, whatever, it doesn't matter. You are obliged. You are obligated. You don't have a choice. Sure. You will respect. Even the most disrespectful person in the room, you will respect them because it's not about them. It's about you, right? It's respect, it's humility. Ukuthi, even though sometimes you will look foolish for being humble, you are actually doing yourself a world of a service by humbling yourself and deciding where to engage and where to disengage. Yabo. Just Tobe. You don't, it's not going to take anything away from you. Even if the next person looks at you and they think, ooh, Leslie, it's fine. Humble yourself, be respectful, and walk away from, those type of things. And then the last thing was a really hard lesson that I learned recently again in my, prayer time, that people are not always going to choose you. You're not always going to be a preference. You are not going to fit into every circle. You are not going to be the most liked, the most beautiful, the most smartest. You are going to be as kind and as beautiful and as amazing as you are. You're going to walk into a room and a person's going to go, nah,
Not her.
not her. I don't. And that's okay.
Yeah.
Don't break yourself trying to be chosen. Don't bend your back trying to be chosen. Don't lose yourself wanting to be chosen. There are people you're not going to choose. So why should everybody choose you? You know, everybody has the right. Even the guy that you like, he
might not like
you. He might think you're too whatever. And that's okay. You know, that was a really hard pill for me to swallow. Yeah, but
and how do you deal with rejection?
It's okay. It's just I'm just not your bag of chips, and that's fine. That's okay. You don't. Yeah. There are people I don't choose. There are people that I reject.
Yeah.
So I have to be able to
understand if you can do it, and that other people can do it.
Yeah,
too.
I'm not. For some people, I'm just too weird, and that's fine.
Yeah.
For some people, she talks too much. She's that.
Yeah, that's true.
It's okay. It's like, that's fine. You'll find people that work for you.
Yeah.
And I'll find people that work for me.
Yeah.
So it's part of life.
Yeah. And lastly, any 2-3 Nyana verses that keeps you going? I'm talking your language. Like, because I asked you, what would you say to a mom who has to leave their child and to go work? And you said, you wish you could give them a hug or anything like that. But I just want a verse that will keep them going through the time where they have to choose work and just leave their child at home, le mama or le aunt.
Yeah. There's like a whole bunch that are going through me right now.
Yeah.
But I'll 3, right?
Okay.
So 3, the first one is Philippians 4 from verse 6 to 7.
Okay.
8. It says, do not be anxious about anything, but through everything, through supplication and prayer, make your requests known to God, and the peace of God that surpasses all understanding will guard your hearts and mind through Jesus Christ. So what I like about that scripture is it doesn't say that if you talk to God about it, He's going to sort it out.
No.
It basically says that don't worry about anything, but talk to God about it, and He will give you peace through it, right? So while you're going through it, you're going to be at peace. It's going to happen. It's going to suck, but at least you're going to have this unfathomable peace that's going to be encompassing you and surrounding you and keeping you. And in the event where you talk to God and that peace is not there, you have every right to go back to God and say, hey, so your word promises me this peace. I'm not feeling the peace.
Yeah.
So peace, please. Like, give me some of that.
Please.
Now. You have every right to go back to Him because, there's that. And then there's Psalms 46 verse 10 that says, be still and know that I'm God. That one humbles me quickly. Like whenever I start going, it just goes, but you're not God. Calm down.
Yeah.
Relax, and it quickly grounds me to go, okay, cool. Okay. He's God, and I'm in the situation, I'm here, but He's God. And you know what I mean? It's involving Him and inviting His stillness and His peace to be again in the room with you. And then the last one that I'm going to share, I got on my birthday. I came across it on my birthday, actually. It's Isaiah 44 verse 8, if I'm not mistaken. It says, there's so many, but it says, do not worry, do not be afraid. Have I not proclaimed my promises for you long ago? Right. So it's such a gentle reminder to say, like, stop panicking. I spoke over you. I put my breath in you. I made all these declarations over you, and I gave you a piece of me. And I said all these things. You know what I mean? Like, did I not make these promises long ago? And am I not a God who keeps His word? So why are you in this panic? Why are you running around trying to figure it out on your own? Because I made these declarations before you were even born.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that one just broke me.
Yeah. I know I said lastly, but lastly. With the characters that you play, with Londeka, obviously being a Christian, people think being a Christian, you have to be this perfect person. No, we're not. How do you separate the two? Because we do quite a lot of weird things on screen.
On screen. Oh my dear. Yeah.
The things that you do on screen, like acting. We would speak about kissing scenes, sex scenes.
Yes.
The recent one we did on Scandal where you were just crazy and you tried to kill me. Or her, not me.
We're good. I would love you to tell everyone
yes, okay,
that we're
cool.
fine.
Let me just tell them, guys. Everywhere I go, people are saying that guys, we're just playing. She's here. Touch me, but no, we're friends.
We love each other.
We love each other. Everywhere I go, they were like,
yeah, me too.
And I was like, people really love Dintle, hey?
Yo, people love Dintle and they hate Musi. Let me tell you. Oh my God, guys. Even today at church, after a very heavy sermon, let me tell you, it was such a heavy sermon. Everybody got out there. We were crying. We were just like a mess. Yeah. Outside, this other lady comes to me. She's like, I'm like, at church? Am I not supposed to be safe here? She's like, wipe your tears when I'm like, you know what I mean? Guys, people like it.
They do.
So you know how in advertising or when when a channel broadcasts something, they will go, the opinions expressed here do not necessarily represent those of the channel. The things that are expressed here don't necessarily represent, us.
Yes.
And that's just a disclaimer that's put out to say, this is work, and I'm doing a job, and these people have paid me to advertise this for them. I'm disassociating myself from this. So for me, it's a balance of the two. There's a disassociation that happens between Londeka and the character. Whatever the character does has absolutely nothing to do with me. I'm not involved. I'm da-da-da-da. But at the same time, I am not going to sit here and act like I don't need grace.
Yeah.
Because I am as imperfect comes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There are a lot of things that the character does outwardly that sometimes I would do inwardly and sometimes even outwardly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Being a Christian does not exempt me from sin. It does not exempt me from
making mistakes. Yeah.
It does not exempt me. I'm not perfect. Yeah. And I know a lot of the times we try to put on this persona of but I need grace. I always say, out of everybody who needs Jesus, I'm like front of the line because of how flawed and how crazy and how messed up I can be. A lot of the stuff that we show on TV reflects what happens in real life. Of
course.
So we're telling story. We're telling this is some of the stuff that we do. This is some of the stuff that you do. You know what I mean? I'm portraying a character, but I'm also reflecting what's happening in real life. And that's just my job.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for making me cry.
I'm so mad at you for making me cry.
Thank you for watching, guys. Why did you make me cry?
Because you did it. Can I tell you, I don't know if I've said this to you, but there's something about you that and then I was like, I'm so scared. I feel like I'm going to tell my whole life story. I'm going to tell all things that I've never said. And my mom's
something about me, what?
There's something about you that makes people feel like, I feel like I'm in therapy. It feels safe. It feels like I can just tell you. You've got that energy about you where it's like, I feel safe enough to say some of the most horrible things even about myself. And I don't feel like you're going to walk away going, ooh, Londeka. You know what I mean? So, yeah.
I must be a therapist.
You must be a therapist.
If this doesn't work out, skill by therapist and a lead thing. Thanks.